In this video, I'm about to show you 30 UK potato brands you should never get, and exactly why, along with 10 clean, high-quality options that you actually should be buying, starting with number 30, Tesco Everyday Potatoes. Tesco's Everyday Potatoes look like a simple choice. Big bags, low price, easy to grab on the weekly shop. But these budget lines often come from mixed origin supply, meaning the potatoes inside the same bag can come from several farms and even several storage environments. UK AHDB storage reports note that mixed batches are far more likely to show uneven moisture levels, which is why some Tesco Everyday Potatoes cook fluffy while others turn gluey or watery. The bigger issue is long-term cold storage. Value potatoes typically spend longer in controlled atmosphere warehouses, where sprout suppressants and humidity controls are used more aggressively to keep costs down. While legal, extended storage can dull the flavor and increase the risk of internal blackening, something shoppers only discover after peeling. Packhouse audits in the UK have also flagged occasional problems with soil removal and grade consistency on high-volume economy lines. That explains why these potatoes sometimes carry hidden bruising under the skin. Number 29. Asda Just Essentials Potatoes. Asda's Just Essentials potatoes promise value, but the trade-off shows up in the supply chain. These potatoes often come from late-season storage lots, which AHDB notes are more prone to sugar accumulation after long warehouse holding. That sugar turns to excess browning when roasted or fried, giving uneven color and a slightly bitter edge, a common complaint with budget potatoes. Just Essentials suppliers also rely heavily on mechanical sorting, which is faster but rougher. This can cause microbruising that doesn't appear until the potato is cut open, where grey patches or hard spots show up. These defects are harmless, but they affect taste and texture. Another issue is moisture variation. Economy potatoes often have higher water content because they're selected from larger, less tightly graded batches. That's why they sometimes boil into mush instead of holding shape. Asda's value range feeds a budget, but it doesn't deliver dependable performance in the kitchen, especially for roasts or mash, where consistency matters. Number 28. Sainsbury's Basics. Sainsbury's Basics, and by Sainsbury's Potatoes, often come from mixed grade, mixed field batches, a practice AHDB warns can create unpredictable cooking behavior. These potatoes usually include a wider size range and a bigger share of lower grade tubers, which are perfectly legal, but more prone to hollow heart, a common defect in potatoes grown under variable rainfall. You only see it when cutting, but it affects both texture and flavour. Value line potatoes also tend to spend longer in ambient bulk boxes before final washing and packing. Industry audits show that warm holding times increase the risk of early sprouting and skin wrinkling, especially late in the season. These visual changes hint at moisture loss inside the tuber, which leads to mash turning grainy or roast potatoes browning unevenly. Number 27. Morrison's Value Potatoes. Morrison's Value Potatoes often rely on later season contract crops, which UK potato growers note are more likely to have spent extended time in cold stores. Prolonged storage increases the risk of sugar reversion, a well-documented phenomenon where starch converts back into sugar. This causes frying or roasting to produce patchy, overly dark colouring even when cooked correctly. Value potatoes also see more bulk mechanical handling, large bin tippers and high-speed conveyors, which can create pressure bruising. These bruises don't show until peeling, where grey, water-soaked patches appear and affect the texture. AHDB Packhouse guidance lists pressure bruise as one of the most common defects in low-cost, high-volume runs. Another factor is moisture inconsistency. Potatoes selected for lower price tiers often have higher natural water content, leading to roasts that steam instead of being crisp and mash that can feel wet or gluey. Morrison's value will fill a basket cheaply, but the cooking results vary far more than many home cooks expect. Number 26. Iceland Standard Potatoes. Iceland's standard potatoes often come through suppliers that specialize in chilled and frozen distribution, and that supply chain changes how the potatoes behave. These crops typically spend long periods in deep refrigerated stores, because Iceland's logistics favor large, infrequent deliveries. AHDB notes that ultra-cold storage increases the risk of cold-induced sweetening, where starch converts to sugar. That sugar causes potatoes to brown too quickly when roasted, and to taste slightly sharper or bitter. Another issue is condensation cycling. Potatoes repeatedly moving between chilled rooms, lorries, and shop floors can develop surface moisture, which encourages skin silvering and soft spots under the peel. These defects only appear during preparation but affect the texture. Iceland also uses high-volume automated wash lines, and fast washing can leave minor skin scuffing, which accelerates oxidation once cut. Number 25. Co-op Standard White Potatoes. Co-op's standard white potatoes typically come from regional sourcing pools, meaning the brand relies on several smaller packhouses rather than one national supplier. AHDB has highlighted that regionally blended batches often show variable dry matter levels, which is why co-op potatoes can swing from floury one week to watery the next. Dry matter determines everything from mash texture to chip crispness, and inconsistency leads to unpredictable cooking results. Smaller packhouses also use belted wash lines that can be gentler but less thorough. This sometimes leaves patches of soil trapped around the eyes, and soil on potatoes can indicate a higher microbial load, especially late in the season. Not harmful, but it reduces storage life and increases the risk of early softening. Co-op's potatoes also tend to have shorter storage intervals, so sprouting can appear earlier if not kept cool at home. Number 24. Aldi Everyday Essentials Potatoes. Aldi's Everyday Essentials potatoes are sourced for cost over uniformity, and that shows in the wide grading tolerance these bags allow. AHDB warns that wide grade batches often include potatoes with uneven maturation, meaning some tubers have fully developed starch structures while others remain watery. That's why an Aldi Essentials bag can produce perfect roasties one day and mushy ones the next. These potatoes also come from long-run automated pack lines, where speed increases the chance of impact bruising, tiny compression marks that only show once peeled. Bruised areas develop dark streaks after cooking, which many shoppers mistake for spoilage. A further issue is sprout suppression. Budget potatoes spend longer in bulk stores treated with chlorprothum alternatives, post-CIPC regulations. And AHDB notes these substitutes can still cause minor flavor dulling when used heavily. Number 23. Lidl Oakland's Potatoes. Lidl's Oakland's potatoes often come from farms using high-speed lifting during peak harvest, a method AHDB warns can cause hairline skin fractures invisible at first glance. These microcracks allow oxygen to seep in over time, leading to faint internal graying when peeled. It doesn't show on the shop floor, only in the kitchen. Oaklands are also commonly sourced from irrigation-heavy growing regions, where rapid watering late in the season creates potatoes with weaker cell walls. These tubers break down faster during boiling and can collapse mid-roast, even if cooked carefully. Another overlooked issue is the fast dry tunnel systems used in some continental packhouses that Lidl partners with. These hot air tunnels remove field moisture quickly but leave the outer flesh slightly dehydrated. When heat hits later, the edges overcrisp while the center stays soft, creating a split texture many home cooks find frustrating. Number 22. M and S value potatoes. M and S's value potatoes look tidy, but they often come from secondary grading lots, where tubers are selected for appearance rather than structural quality. AHDB notes that second-grade lifts frequently show vascular discoloration deeper inside the potato, faint brown streaks that only appear after slicing. These streaks are harmless, but often translate into a slightly earthy, muddier taste when boiled. Many M and S value suppliers also rely on rapid hydrocooling, where potatoes are chilled with cold water immediately after harvest. While this preserves firmness early on, the sudden temperature shock can cause internal stress spotting that darkens during cooking. A further issue comes from the thin skin varieties commonly used in budget ranges. They look clean after washing, but thin skin loses moisture quickly at home, especially in warm kitchens. This leads to wrinkling and quicker texture decline. Mash becomes uneven, and chips brown before they crisp. Number 21. Waitrose Essential White Potatoes. Waitrose essential white potatoes are sourced from several rotational farming systems, where fields shift annually between potatoes, cereals, and legumes. While sustainable, AHDB points out that rotational variability can lead to mineral imbalance, especially in magnesium-poor soils. This imbalance produces potatoes with firmer cores that resist softening, which is why some Waitrose essential batches stay stubbornly hard even after extra boiling. Essential potatoes also undergo gentle steam finishing after washing, a method used to remove fine soil. But if steam exposure runs slightly long, it can cause partial surface gelatinization, making the outer layer cook faster than the interior. The result? Roast potatoes that color beautifully but remain slightly resistant in the center. Another unique issue is early lifting in damp seasons. When moisture sits in the ridges, potatoes can develop pale water halos just under the skin. These halos turn gray when cut and can impart a dull flavor. Number 20. Albert Bartlett's Standard White Potatoes. Albert Bartlett is known for premium lines, but their standard white potatoes come from a different sourcing stream. These whites often originate from higher yield fields, where crops are grown for volume rather than dry matter quality. AHDB reports that high-yield fields tend to produce potatoes with lower starch density, which explains why Bartlett's standard whites sometimes produce watery mash or roast unevenly. Another factor is post-harvest warm curing. Some suppliers warm cure potatoes briefly to toughen skins before packing, but overcuring can lead to core firmness that remains even after long cooking. Home cooks notice this as pale centers that never fully soften. Bartlett's standard whites also undergo rotary brush cleaning, a technique that removes soil well but can create microabrasions on the surface. These tiny scrapes accelerate oxidation when the potato is cut, causing gray edges or dull flavor during boiling. Number 19. Greenvale Farm Fresh Potatoes. Greenvale markets its potatoes as farm fresh, but the standard line often comes from early lift crops, harvested before full skin set. AHDB's crop quality reports warn that early lift potatoes are more vulnerable to moisture loss and develop soft patches sooner in home storage. This translates into roast potatoes that brown too fast on the outside while staying slightly firm inside. Greenvale uses minimal washing to preserve appearance, but lighter washing can leave microscopic soil films that increase respiration rate, meaning the potatoes age faster once bagged. This leads to earlier sprouting or skin wrinkling, especially during warmer months. A unique issue for Greenvale is that some batches go through field-side bulk loading, where potatoes are taken directly from harvest trailers into grading. This rough handling creates impact dimpling, a defect that remains hidden until peeled and cooked, where soft pockets appear. Number 18. Jersey Royals. Genuine Jersey Royals are excellent, but the low-grade, off-season bulk bags sold cheaply in UK supermarkets behave very differently. Off-season Royals are stored for far longer, and AHDB notes that extended storage causes flavour volatilization, meaning the signature earthy sweetness fades and leaves a flat, slightly grassy taste. Off-season Royals often come from late lifting in cooler conditions, which increases the risk of skin blistering, tiny raised patches under the peel that turn watery during boiling. Many shoppers mistake this for overcooking, but it starts in storage. Bulk Royals also rely on intensive washing to improve appearance, but heavy wash lines remove protective skin oils, accelerating dehydration. That's why these potatoes wrinkle at home, even when stored correctly. Finally, lower grade Royals usually have weak skin set, which causes the outer layer to slough during cooking, creating cloudy water and mushy textures. Number 17. Maris Piper. Low-grade Maris Piper bags look appealing because Piper is a trusted roasting variety, but the quality collapses when the tubers come from generic supplier pools. These are often taken from fields where the crop was lifted too late, producing potatoes with loose internal grain, a flaw that causes them to shatter during roasting. You'll see crisp edges but a crumbly center that falls apart before it browns properly. Generic suppliers also rely on bulk drying sheds, where warm, moving air is used to remove field moisture quickly. This fast drying creates tiny internal fissures that don't show until cooked, when the potato breaks unevenly or cooks patchily. Another overlooked issue is oversized grading tolerance. Cheap Piper bags often include tubers that grew irregularly. Uneven starch distribution means one half cooks soft while the other stays firm. Number 16. Rooster potatoes. Rooster is normally a reliable all-rounder, but generic supplier bags often mix several field batches that never should have been blended. Some come from lighter soils, others from dense clay, and soil differences dramatically change how roosters cook. That's why one potato in the bag fries beautifully, while the next disintegrates in oil. Many generic rooster suppliers also use rotating drum washers, which clean quickly but can over-polish the skin. Over-polishing removes natural protective layers and leads to faster moisture loss at home. Once moisture escapes, the flesh tightens, producing a dry, mealy interior even when boiled gently. Another unique flaw in cheap rooster lines is field scuffing from rough mechanical harvesters. These abrasions oxidize slowly inside the potato, causing dull flavor and faint grey streaks after cutting. Rooster is a brilliant potato when sourced well, but in generic mixed-lot bags, the variety's strengths get drowned out by inconsistent handling and uneven field quality. Number 15. Russet potatoes. Cheap imported russet potatoes look attractive to shoppers wanting a chip shop texture. Still, these lower-cost imports often arrive after long-haul transport, where temperature shifts cause moisture migration inside the tuber. That movement leads to hollow pockets that only show once cooked, creating fries that split or absorb oil unevenly. Imported russets typically undergo heavy chlorine-based washing to meet cross-border hygiene requirements. While safe, this aggressive wash strips the skin's natural barriers, making the potatoes age faster on shelves and develop soft patches sooner. Another issue is that russets grown for export are frequently produced in high irrigation systems, creating overly large tubers with diluted flavor and weaker cell structure. When fried, they can seem crisp at first, but quickly turn leathery because the internal structure collapses under heat. Russets can be excellent when freshly grown and locally packed, but the discounted import bags in UK shops rarely capture that quality. The journey takes too much out of them. Number 14. King Edward. Low-grade King Edward bags often come from late-season lifts, where the crop has already experienced cold ground temperatures. When this happens, the flesh develops grain fractures, tiny internal splits that cause the potato to cook unevenly. You'll see a fluffy exterior but a slightly rigid center, a classic sign of temperature-stressed King Edwards. Generic suppliers also use large volume grading belts that prioritize speed over precision. This leads to more pressure denting, a defect that only shows after cooking as pale, mushy pockets inside the potato. Many shoppers assume this is overboiling, but the damage happens months before. Another hidden issue is over-maturation. Budget Edwards often includes tubers that grew too big or too long in the soil, giving them an oversized, flowery structure that collapses the moment heat is applied. Number 13. Baker's potatoes. Unbranded Baker's potatoes, sold in bulk bags, are usually a mix of several varieties, chosen for size, not quality. These blends frequently include tubers with wildly different moisture levels, which is why the same bag produces one perfect jacket potato and one dense, leathery one. Bulk suppliers rely heavily on forced air drying bays to handle large volumes quickly. When potatoes dry too fast, the outer cells toughen while the inside remains soft, leading to the classic jacket potato problem. Crisp skin, but a center that tastes flat and compressed instead of fluffy. These potatoes also experience rough handling during the tip and fill loading process, where heavy batches tumble into hoppers. This causes hidden surface stress bruises that darken only after baking. And because these potatoes aren't tied to any retailer standards, they often include field-run second stubbers with cosmetic or structural issues. Number 12. Wilger potatoes. Wilger can be a great all-rounder, but budget-grade Wilger often comes from older storage barns that rely on natural airflow instead of controlled humidity. Over time, this causes the flesh to lose moisture unevenly, leading to a rubbery texture when boiled and chips that darken too quickly in oil. Another issue is Wilger's sensitivity to soil compaction. Cheap batches often come from fields harvested after heavy rainfall, where mechanical harvesters compress wet soil around the tubers. This creates surface scarring that later turns into flavor-dulling oxidized patches during cooking. Budget Wilger bags also tend to include a high proportion of undersized tubers, which mature faster in the field and become soft sooner in storage. These small tubers produce mash that tastes slightly metallic or thin. Number 11. Desiree. Budget Desiree packs often rely on early lifting to maximize supermarket availability. Early lift Desiree potatoes have weaker skins that peel away during cooking, leaving cloudy water and a mushy finish in stews or curries. Desiree also suffers when grown in high fertilizer fields, a common cost-saving technique among budget suppliers. Excess nitrogen creates tubers with looser cell binding, leading to the distinctive problem of one side cooking faster than the other, especially noticeable in wedges and mash. Many budget packs go through basic drum wash systems that use abrasive brushes. Desiree's naturally thin red skin is prone to micro-tearing, and once those tears dry, they create pale, corky patches that dull the flavor. Another issue is the potato's tendency to retain field moisture, if not cured properly. Poor curing leaves a faint vegetal smell and makes the interiors slightly gummy. Number 10. Heron Foods potatoes. Heron Foods sources many of its potatoes from secondary wholesale markets, meaning the batches often include stock that's been through multiple storage locations before reaching the store. Each move exposes the potatoes to different temperatures, and those shifts cause cell pressure fluctuations, a problem that later shows up as soggy patches or uneven softening during cooking. These potatoes also tend to come in minimal ventilation plastic bags, a low-cost packaging choice that traps moisture. When condensation settles, it activates natural enzymes in the skin, leading to early skin slippage and dull, flat flavor once cooked. Another overlooked issue is that Heron's suppliers often use simplified grading lines, which miss subtle internal defects like ring discoloration or subsurface bruising. These flaws only reveal themselves once you cut the potato, often as pale circles or greyish bands that cook out unevenly. Number 9. Farm foods, potatoes. Farm foods frequently relies on bulk regional consolidators, suppliers that gather potatoes from several small farms and mix them into one shipment. Mixfield stock leads to wildly different moisture levels across the same bag, creating the classic issue where one potato boils to mush while the next stays stubbornly firm. Because farm foods specializes in frozen and chilled distribution, some potatoes travel through sub-zero transit corridors before reaching stores. Even short exposure to near freezing temperatures can trigger starch tightening, a structural change that causes the potato to firm up unevenly when heated. Farm foods, potatoes, also commonly go through budget water flume washing, where potatoes are moved along channels of recirculated water. If the flume isn't perfectly balanced, tubers absorb trace surface water into micropores, leading to quicker spoilage and dull flavor in cooking. They're affordable, but the mixed origins and fluctuating temperature exposure mean consistent results are almost impossible. Number 8. B&M potatoes. B&M's potatoes often originate from surplus distributor stock, meaning the potatoes were originally packed for another retailer but didn't meet aesthetic or uniformity standards. These redirected lots frequently include tubers with uneven maturation, which creates a chalky core surrounded by softer, outer flesh once cooked. B&M suppliers also depend on high-speed tumble washers, which prioritize volume over gentleness. These washers can cause micro-pitting in the skin, tiny punctures invisible on the shelf, but significant enough to let moisture escape. As the potato dries out, the inside becomes tight and slightly rubbery, especially noticeable in jacket potatoes. One more concern is warehouse humidity drift. Non-food specialist warehouses struggle to maintain stable humidity levels, and potatoes stored in fluctuating moisture tend to develop faint internal glassiness, a translucent texture that cooks out gummy. Number 7. Poundland potatoes. Poundland's potatoes usually come from ultra-budget repackers, companies that buy leftover or end-of-run batches from major suppliers and rebag them cheaply. These lots often include potatoes that have already been in storage for extended periods, and prolonged storage leads to respiration fatigue, the natural breakdown of internal starch structure, resulting in watery or fibrous textures after boiling. Because these potatoes come from end-of-run supplies, many have minor scuffs and handling marks from earlier transport stages. Once cooked, these marks darken into leathery spots or uneven soft patches. Another issue is simplified packaging. Poundland often uses thin, non-breathable bags that trap ethylene, a natural aging gas produced by the potatoes themselves. Ethylene buildup accelerates sprouting and causes the flesh to soften prematurely. Visually, they may look fine, but the combination of long storage, mixed origins, and restricted airflow means they rarely deliver satisfying cooking performance. Number 6. Home Bargains potatoes. Home Bargains often sources potatoes through close-out wholesale channels, meaning the stock is made up of potatoes that didn't move quickly enough through other retailers' systems. By the time these lots reach discount shelves, many have already experienced aging drift, a slow softening of internal flesh that leads to mash turning gluey, or roast potatoes browning unevenly. These potatoes also tend to pass through rapid de-soil tunnels, where high-pressure water jets remove stubborn soil. While effective, the jets can create micro-cracks beneath the skin. These cracks aren't visible until cooking, where they cause patchy moisture release and slightly sour, dull notes in the finished dish. Another issue is ambient temperature depot storage. Home Bargain's mixed product warehouses don't always maintain stable humidity for fresh produce, and potatoes held in fluctuating conditions often develop faint internal glassy streaks. This structural weakness shows up as a rubbery bite or inconsistent frying. Number 5. Bid-food bulk potatoes. Bid-food's bulk potatoes are designed for high-volume catering, not home cooking, and that changes everything. These potatoes often come from processing-focused fields, where growers prioritize uniform shape over internal quality. This produces tubers with tougher outer flesh and a center that softens too quickly, giving chips a crisp shell but a mushy interior, which is frustrating for home roasts or mash. Bulk catering potatoes also spend longer periods in large palletized crates where airflow isn't evenly distributed. The potatoes sitting in the center of the crate warm faster, leading to localized softening long before the bag reaches a shop or kitchen. Another issue is that Bid-food's wash lines are optimized for speed, not delicacy. The potatoes pass through abrasive brush beds, which create microscopic scarring. These scars oxidize internally, causing faint metallic or musty notes when cooked. Number 4. Breaks catering potatoes. Breaks specializes in supplying restaurants and care kitchens, meaning their potatoes are selected for predictable output under commercial equipment, not nuanced home recipes. Many Breaks potatoes come from long curing storage barns, where tubers sit for extended periods to stabilize moisture. But long curing often results in woody internal patches, which stay firm even after prolonged boiling. Catering potatoes also undergo heavy-duty steam desoiling, which uses bursts of heat to lift dirt. If exposure runs slightly long, the outermost layer begins to gelatinize before packing, causing uneven texture later. Roast potatoes color faster than expected, while the centers lag. Another unique issue comes from multi-variety blending, a common catering practice. Breaks sometimes mixes 2 or more similar-looking varieties to fill bulk quotas, but different varieties react differently under heat, producing chips or mash with inconsistent structure. Number 3. Booker Value Potatoes. Booker's value-grade potatoes are sourced for price efficiency, often pulling from fields where the crop has been grown under fast turnaround contracts. These fields typically use coarse irrigation cycles, which leave the potatoes with fluctuating moisture content. When cooked, these moisture swings translate into centers that collapse while the exterior stays rigid. Booker's distribution network also relies on ambient cross-docking, where produce waits in mixed temperature bays before shipment. Even short delays can cause potatoes to warm unevenly, leading to spongy internal patches that only appear once peeled or roasted. Another distinct flaw is the minimal curing time. Value-grade potatoes are often packed quickly after harvest without allowing the skins to set fully. Poor skin set means more peeling losses and a higher chance of the flesh becoming chalky or fibrous after cooking. Booker potatoes are cheap and convenient for bulk buyers, but the combination of fast-growing practices, unstable storage transitions, and undercured skins makes them unpredictable in home kitchens. Number 2. Macro bulk potatoes. Macro's bulk potatoes are built for cash and carry catering environments, where turnover is high and quality control varies widely. These potatoes often arrive in unventilated jumbo sacks, which trap heat inside the pallet during transport. The inner layers warm faster than the outer ones, causing internal soft spot formation, a defect that only reveals itself once cooked as unexpected mushy pockets. Macro suppliers also rely heavily on mechanical bin tippers to move enormous loads quickly. This handling creates low-grade compression bruises, invisible externally, but darkening into leathery streaks after boiling or roasting. Another issue is that Macro often receives potatoes from late-cycle field lifts, batches harvested when the crop is already declining. These tubers develop corky ring tissue, a subtle structural flaw that gives cooked potatoes a dry, chalk-like texture even when prepared correctly. Macro's bulk format works for operators feeding hundreds, but for home kitchens, the combination of pallet heating, compression bruising, and late lift defects leads to unpredictable results. Number 1. Costco bulk white potatoes. Costco's bulk white potatoes look premium because of their clean finish and large sizing, but the bulk format introduces its own problems. These potatoes are typically sourced from high-volume growers who prioritize size uniformity through heavy irrigation. That irrigation produces tubers with diluted starch density, meaning they brown too quickly under high heat and make soft, pale roasties. Costco pallets also undergo long-distance transit within sealed wrap, where trapped warmth and limited airflow can push the potatoes into mild metabolic stress. This results in uneven internal hydration, causing certain areas to cook watery while others remain firm. Another distinct flaw is the use of fast rotary polishers at some large-scale suppliers. While this creates a glossy finish, it strips the skin's natural microlayer, reducing flavor and shortening shelf life once opened at home. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Some UK potato brands are actually clean, reliable, and grown with better standards, starting with number 10. Riverford organic potatoes. Riverford. Organic potatoes are consistently reliable because they come from small, carefully managed fields where soil health is treated as the central part of flavor. Riverford rotates crops across multi-year cycles, allowing the soil to rebuild structure naturally. This slower, regenerative approach produces potatoes with stable dry matter levels. The reason Riverford roasties brown evenly and mash turns silky instead of gluey. Unlike large commercial operations, Riverford avoids intensive irrigation. The potatoes grow at a natural pace, giving the flesh a denser cell structure that holds together during boiling and steaming. Their packhouses also use gentle wash lines designed specifically for organic produce, meaning the skins stay intact and the flavor remains earthy and clean. Because Riverford packs potatoes close to the harvest date, storage times are short and sprouting is minimal. The result is a potato that tastes fresh, performs consistently, and reflects the kind of farming where quality matters more than yield. Number 9. Abel & Cole organic potatoes. Abel & Cole works with a network of small independent organic growers, many of whom supply directly from single estate farms. This creates an unusually transparent supply chain. Potatoes often travel from soil to doorstep within days, retaining moisture and delivering the creamy, naturally sweet flavor organic varieties are known for. These growers rely on biological soil enrichment instead of synthetic fertilizers, a method that encourages deeper root development. That root depth stabilizes starch levels, which is why Abel & Cole potatoes consistently make fluffy mash and crisp, evenly structured roasties. Another strength is their handling system. Rather than heavy industrial washing, Abel & Cole uses minimal rinsing and hand grading, reducing skin damage and helping potatoes store longer without sprouting or softening. Their varieties change seasonally, but the quality doesn't. Abel & Cole's commitment to small batch harvesting and gentle processing makes their potatoes some of the most reliable available for home cooks who value organic flavor and predictable cooking performance. Number 8. Patch organic potatoes. Patch organic potatoes stand out because they're grown under regenerative agriculture principles, focusing on soil biodiversity rather than simple organic compliance. Patch encourages cover cropping and low disturbance cultivation, which builds soil structure and boosts natural micronutrients in the tubers. This results in potatoes with richer, more complex flavor and a firmness that holds beautifully in curries, roasts, and air fryer recipes. Their growers also avoid large-scale mechanical lifting. Instead, Patch uses low-impact harvesting, reducing bruising and preserving the integrity of the skin. This gentler approach means the potatoes store longer at home and develop fewer black spots when peeled. Patch's washing process is extremely light, often just a soft rinse, preserving the outer layer that protects moisture and flavor. Because Patch works in smaller volumes, potatoes spend less time in storage and more time in transit, leading to noticeably fresher texture and color. Number 7. The Organic Farm Shop Potatoes. The Organic Farm Shop sources potatoes from estate-scale organic fields known for their mineral-rich soil. These soils naturally support slower, more even tuber development, producing potatoes with a steady starch profile, the key to smooth mash, stable boiling, and roast potatoes that crisp without drying out. Because the farm uses traditional ridge cultivation and minimal mechanization, the potatoes experience far less physical stress. Reduced handling means fewer microscopic skin fractures, so the potatoes stay firm and flavorful even after a week in the kitchen. Their storage methods are also small scale and controlled, cool, ventilated barns rather than industrial megastores. This prevents temperature shock and maintains the tuber's natural sweetness and structure. The Organic Farm Shop focuses on freshness over volume. Potatoes are often packed within 24 to 48 hours of grading, giving them a just harvested taste that's rare in supermarkets. For anyone wanting honest, old-fashioned potato quality, this brand delivers every time. Number 6. Sutton Bridge Farms Potatoes. Sutton Bridge Farms is known within the UK potato world for its precision-focused growing practices. They specialize in varieties chosen specifically for cooking performance, not just yield, and manage their fields with laser-level drainage and carefully timed irrigation. This prevents the fluctuating moisture levels that normally lead to uneven cooking. Their potatoes develop under consistent field conditions, giving them a stable cell structure that performs beautifully across all cooking methods: fluffy jackets, crisp roasties, and creamy mash. Sutton Bridge also uses slow, aerated curing rooms rather than forced heat systems, allowing skin set to develop naturally and flavor compounds to mature fully. A standout feature is their gentle packhouse grading, which relies on optical sorting instead of harsh mechanical brushes. This preserves skin integrity and helps potatoes store longer without sprouting or softening. For home cooks who want predictable performance and steady texture, Sutton Bridge Farms consistently over-delivers. Number 5. Branston Potatoes. Branston is one of the UK's most respected potato suppliers because they invest heavily in variety-specific growing plans. Instead of treating all potatoes the same, Branston matches each field to the variety that grows best in that soil type, a practice that produces consistently firm, flavorful tubers with reliable starch structure. Their growers use precision irrigation and soil mapping, allowing the crop to mature evenly. This is why Branston potatoes roast with crisp edges and boil without breaking down. The brand also operates some of the UK's most advanced pack houses, using optical graders and low-impact conveyors that preserve skin integrity and reduce bruising. Branston stores potatoes in carefully controlled humidity and temperature environments, preventing the internal dryness or sprouting often seen in cheaper lines. From farm to shelf, everything is built around consistency. For home cooks wanting predictable results every time, Branston is one of the safest, most reliable choices on the market. Number 4. Albert Bartlett Apache Potatoes. Albert Bartlett's Apache potatoes stand out because they're grown as a specialist heritage hybrid, a naturally firmer, denser variety that holds its structure beautifully under heat. Apache potatoes develop slowly in the field, and this slower maturation produces tubers with a tight cell network, allowing them to roast crisp without collapsing. Their unique red and cream mottled skin comes from growing them in lighter, sandy soils that drain well and reduce the risk of waterlogging. This soil type enhances natural sweetness and creates a creamy texture rare in small potatoes. Bartlett treats Apache as a premium crop, using gentle harvesting equipment to prevent skin tearing and preserve the potato's delicate flavor. The small size also means shorter storage windows, so the potatoes reach shelves fresher than most mainstream varieties. Number 3. Pink Fir Apple Potatoes. Pink Fir Apple is one of Britain's oldest potato varieties, valued for its naturally nutty flavor and firm texture. These potatoes are grown in low-density heritage plots, where farmers prioritize flavor development over yield. Longer field maturation allows Pink Fir Apple to develop a uniquely waxy structure, perfect for salads, pan frying, or roasting without disintegration. Because the variety grows in knobbly, irregular shapes, it requires gentle harvesting and careful hand grading, reducing bruising and maintaining purity of flavor. Farmers who grow Pink Fir Apple typically avoid aggressive irrigation and chemical interventions, relying instead on slower, traditional cultivation. Their thin skins mean they don't need heavy washing, preserving natural surface oils that enhance storage life and protect flavor. Cooked properly, Pink Fir Apple delivers a creamy, slightly nutty bite with excellent structural integrity. Number 2. Osprey Potatoes. Osprey potatoes are known for their exceptionally smooth, bright skin, a sign of healthy field conditions and low mechanical damage. They're often grown in fields with balanced mineral soils, which help the tubers develop evenly with minimal surface defects. The result is a potato that stores well, peels cleanly, and cooks with reliable consistency. Osprey growers prioritize slow, controlled curing, allowing skins to toughen naturally before packing. This gentle cure helps Osprey maintain moisture, giving it a creamy texture ideal for mash, wedges, and baking. Pack houses handling Osprey use soft belt handling lines rather than abrasive brushes, ensuring the skin isn't damaged during sorting. This minimal handling approach preserves flavor and reduces oxidation once the potato is cut. Osprey performs well across cooking methods, fluffy when baked, crisp when roasted, and naturally smooth when mashed, making it one of the most versatile and dependable potatoes for home cooks. Number 1. Isle of Wight Heritage Potatoes. Isle of Wight Heritage potatoes benefit from a unique coastal microclimate that provides mild temperatures, long sunlight hours, and mineral-rich sea air. These conditions allow potatoes to grow slowly and steadily, developing deeper, more complex flavors than mainland varieties. The farms on the island use small plot cultivation, allowing close monitoring of soil health and moisture levels. Because the climate is naturally well drained and breezy, heritage potatoes from the Isle of Wight suffer fewer humidity-related issues, producing firm, clean-fleshed tubers with excellent cooking stability. Harvesting is done with light-touch machinery suited for smaller, artisanal fields, reducing internal bruising and preserving the potato's natural sweetness. Storage is equally gentle, cool, ventilated barns that keep the potatoes crisp and fresh without the need for intensive environmental control. With exceptional flavor, structure, and natural freshness, Isle of Wight heritage potatoes are among the UK's finest choices for roasting, boiling, or high-end cooking.